What's up? Drunken the Highlander here, and I'm trying to make kind of a video kind of in response. Well, there's going to be a part directly in response to Farasa Hobby's video on overcoming fear, but also because I had recently taken a fight and it was something that I wanted to mention as well. So I'm going to first break it into kind of two parts. I might make two videos. The first part's going to be about how I overcome fear, the things I've done to overcome fear, and what happens when I go through it. The second part is going to be just me making a response to what Farasa Hobby had said. And not that I don't agree with it, I agree with it entirely. I happen to know some science to back up what he was saying, so I just thought that was interesting. And I might even make this one video. We'll see how quickly I can get this going. Well, wait a second. Look at this shit. I don't know what the hell this is, but nothing interesting. Just a train, just driving down the street with part of a train. All right, so when I got a fight, the second I found out that I had a fight, my heart starts beating. I get nervous because I found out it's just different. It just changes the atmosphere of the whole situation. Whereas before I'm training, I'm doing my thing, doing my day-to-day. Now you second guess everything. If you have a bad roll, a bad sparring session, you think, fuck, that can't happen. Or if I'm in this situation when I'm fighting, that's not going to be good for me. And those are the sort of things that get into everyone's head, that creeps into your head. As you start training, you get better at putting those things aside, and also not just putting them aside, but reframing things. One of the things that I find it's most important with fear or with anything in life, with selling, that's my dad. He was like a door-to-door salesman in the 90s and the 80s. So that was one of the things that I learned, was how to frame a situation. My dad was the type of guy that could sell glasses to a blind man. And if you have to reframe your fear, and you have to reframe whatever situation you're in. So if you're having bad rolls, bad sparring sessions or whatever, you have to tell yourself that you're going against, which hopefully is true, that you're going against tough individuals, that your training partners are good and that they're good at these areas. If you're going against your training partners, you have to tell yourself that the person that you're fighting isn't as good as your training partners, and that you're putting yourself in a bad situation so that you are not going to be in that situation when you get into the fight. And then if you are put in a situation like this when you fight, you're going to be comfortable with it. It's not going to be something that startles you. It's going to be something that you're completely used to. Now, that's just in preparation. Now, when I'm actually before the fight, or when it gets close and you're in the room, now I find one of the things I like listening to is this little speech from Mike Tyson, where he talks about becoming a god. And he says, going into the ring, every time he gets closer into the ring, he keeps thinking about how he's been thinking about this person, which is all the things. The reason why I find it interesting, or the reason why I really cling to it, was because I found it after I'd had a couple fights. I mean, I've only had 5 fights, or this will be my 5th fight, so I've only had 4 fights. So after maybe my first or second fight, I found this, and I found it really interesting because it really, what he was saying, what Mike motherfucking Tyson was feeling, were the same emotions that I feel. There are same things that everybody feels. You think about the fact that this person could beat you. You dream about the fact that this person could beat you. You think about the fact that this person could beat your ass in front of your friends. You dream about them. You make them into this big monster. You know what I mean? But at the same time, as you get closer and closer to the actual preparation, to the actual moment where you fight, it starts to side away, and you have to put that in the foreground. I mean, not in the foreground, you have to put that in the background. One of the things I like to do is I like to breathe. Big, deep breath. Now, one of the big things you're starting to hear people talk about is how when you take deep breaths, it stimulates your parasympathetic nervous system, which is, I believe, the whole part in the fight or flight freeze situation. And that's one of the things that is just, it works. You take a deep breath, and it allows you to kind of clear your head. You keep calm, you keep breathing. I like to take deep breaths. I like to breathe in through my nose, out through my mouth. Big, 10 counts on both times. That's something I learned when I was in 1st, 2nd grade. You know, that's something that we've probably all learned, but it helps. It really does. So those are some of the things I like to do. That, listening to this little Mike Tyson speech, I like to stay calm. I like to try to relax. I like to think about the hard sparring sessions I've been through, think about the training I've been through, I try to put trust in myself and put trust in my skills and trust in the things that I've learned and trust in the fact that I've had these hard training days, and I tell myself that I didn't do that for nothing, that I didn't kill myself for nothing. And I try that when I train, I try to kill myself. I try to leave myself out there as much as I can. So there's that. That's what I do. Now, in response to Farasa Hobby's video, all I wanted to say was just that he mentions that when he finds that he has fighters that have nerves, one of the things he likes to do is he likes to force them to maybe go really hard and work out. And he finds that that puts them in a state beforehand. So like maybe hit mitts really hard the day of the fight, maybe go for a run, whatever. He finds, or do plyos, do jumps. He finds that by doing that, it makes them just more on point, and it kind of takes the nervous energy out of them. And what he said was it allows them to burn off the energy. Well, there's a study by this guy, John Ratty, and what he's basically, Dr. John Ratty, and it might be Ratley, but what he's essentially saying is that there's a reason for that. When you do a cardiovascular exercise, when you do any sort of exercise and you work really hard, your brain starts producing this thing called BDNF, brain-derived neurotropic factor. Now what that does, that's kind of like the miracle grow for your brain. You know, this is a direct quote, this is a paraphrase from what this doctor said. So what it does, but I've read other things, Norman Doidge, on this subject, but what it does is it allows your brain to be plastic. It allows your brain to grow. It allows you to learn new things. It allows your brain to be more active, be more healthy, and to keep producing things into the future. So that's one thing. And this is keep producing, I said things, but to keep producing neurons into the future. Now, this is just one thing that happens from exercise, is that BDNF goes up. The second thing is that from your heart starts producing something called ANP, and I can't remember exactly what ANP stands for, I'm not gonna lie to you, but what ANP does is it comes from your heart and it goes into your brain and it affects your hypothalamus, and that's the emotional reactional part of your brain, and allows it to calm down, puts you in a state where you can stay calm and where you can react better to situations. So with the correlation between the two, obviously it makes sense why that would help you in a fight. If you get to quote unquote blow off some steam when you have all this nervous energy, because you have all this cortisol, all this shit blowing in you because you're about to have a fight, and that's not a normal situation when something like that happens, when you know that the stress is coming. It's just different. The day is different. You can cut the air with a knife at times. It's just a different energy. So to be able to blow off some steam, what that does is your brain produces BDNF, which is kind of like balancing all the levels of your chemicals in your brain, and that's also what that happy feeling comes from, is that from the BDNF, serotonin levels increase. See, people think that it's endorphins, but your brain actually doesn't secrete endorphins until you've worked out at a very, very, very high rate. But what that feeling is, that rush, that's from the increased BDNF and serotonin and something else that I can't remember. I can't remember the name of it right now, but another chemical, not dopamine, but another one. There's cannabinoid receptors that are hit, and some other ones as well. But it's just super interesting. So essentially what Farasa was saying, how he feels that by making his fighters, do a hard, if they have a lot of nervous energy, do a hard workout, do something like that. Well, there's some scientific benefit to that, because if you do a hard workout, your brain's going to produce BDNF, which is going to kind of gel your whole brain, allow your whole brain to just have a more cohesive, a more calm effect. And then also your heart is going to produce ANP, and that's going to go to your brain, which is going to hit your hypothalamus, which is going to increase your focus and decrease your anxiety. I hope you guys made it this far. I know this is 10 minutes. I really hope you guys made it this far, and hope you guys like it.